Cold, Lily. It's cold, Lily. Go pee pee. Girl, you freezing. Because you were out here all night freezing your little tail off. What's your damn deal? Why are you worried? Why are you worried? I know you're stressed. I know you are. I know you are. These two. These two. I know it. I know. You were out here all night freezing your tail off. Good morning, Lou. Good morning. Hey. Chella, don't do that. Look at me. Wow. This is definitely, definitely one of the craziest nights I've ever had. Chilla, you're going to have to move back, sis. Come on. If you want to come in, just come in. So I'm just going to stream. That's what I've determined. Obviously, because I'm doing it. That's how I'm going to keep my sanity. It's just journaling. Like the original days of my channel. Number one, I'm waiting on, you hear me? I'm waiting on them to call me, but I'm also just waiting on it to get warmer before we walk her. And she's fine. I drink my cup of coffee. Me and Okama always said, it's always a little joke, a little jokey joke, that when we didn't need a car anymore, the world would end. And of course, that joke is only something we would laugh at. Right, of course. Luli, there's no car for you to get into, sis. Come on. Come on, Lou. There's no car to get into, sis. Okay? There's no fucking car. All right? Y'all love your WALKs. We will. We will. Ow! Fuck. Oh my God. Jesus. What the fuck? I literally just spilled I thought I was being stung by somebody. You know, I'm definitely going through something. I think my teeth are stained from last night, and I think I don't care. See, I'm the type of person when I'm really going through something, I don't care about anybody. I really don't. Really don't care. I don't care. I go into this weird, like when I really am really going through something, which that hasn't happened in a long time, at least not for me to document for YouTube, right? God damn, that coffee's fucking hot. Jesus Christ. Literally, probably got third-degree burns on my ass. And I'm really going through something. Oh, I can promise you I don't give a fuck about you. I can promise you that. I can promise you that. Can promise you that. You know? When I'm really, really, really going through something. And I really am. I really am. And it is what it is. There's no need to fight it. You know, I woke up multiple times last night after I did my stream. I know I'm going through a life-changing, like really, it's bigger than what it might look like. Um, to me even. You know, I know I'm going through a big life-altering, changing everything. I know it. It only happens for real, like a really like there ain't no mistaking it, life-altering thing every now and again. And I know it will all make sense soon. But if you're coming to my channel looking for Christmas cheer, I planned on it being Christmas cheer, but it ain't. So sorry about that. Oh well, I'm not interacting with anybody. It's like no one exists. That's how I feel. I'm so locked into what I'm going through that nothing else exists to me but my family. As much as I would love to be aware of the presence of other people, I can't. You're not real to me right now. What's real to me is where I'm sitting, and my friends, and my family members, and my children, my friend right here, my children. It's feeling like I'm being put on a lockdown, but it's for a good reason. You know, some things happen and they look bad. You might hate it, but it's for your good, even if you don't see it that way. And I've been through this type of scenario where it's what I call, and this is just my path. I go through, let me just say this. Everyone's on their own fucking little path, as we all say. So what I have to say about my path is not relatable to your path necessarily. Not really. What I have to say about my path and relatability and the words that I use and the happenings on my path are not necessarily relatable to your path because it's not the same path, right? So I'm not here to be relatable. I'm just here to tell what's going on in my life for my own sanity because it's for me to understand what's going on. I don't need an interpreter. And if there becomes a day where I need an interpreter to tell me and explain to me why things are happening in my life the way that they are, then I have failed at living. I have failed at being if I need somebody else to explain to me why my life is the way that it is in any capacity. In any capacity, you know. But I call these times of my life the lockdown times. Not to be confused with pandemic lockdown, but it's more of a many forces coming together and putting me in a position of immobility in a certain way. It's not the same every way. Where I become, it's the island effect, where all I know is the island that I'm on. And as it's happening, it's like, what the fuck? But after, it all, I'm allowed back off the island and I see the carnage that surrounds the island. I'm like, wow, as much as I hated being locked on the damn island, um, it saved my life, you know? Everything's going to make sense soon. It just doesn't seem like it. A lot can change in a few days. A lot can. You know, one day it's sunny, the next day your town's underwater, you know? One day it's raining, the next day it's sunny and your house is underwater. Flooding is a thing. But I don't know. I haven't been really paying attention to the weather. Go Papa Lulu. It's very overcast. I know that we're going to be having a stormy little week, all week, and then, seemingly it'll all be over. 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. Yeah. By the 11th, 12th, it'll all be over. Go Poopa, please. Go Poopy. You can do it, Lou. You got it. She gonna TT instead. Stresses me out. Go Poopa, Luli. Go Papa. You can do it. It's not a big deal. You can go Papa. We're waiting on a phone call. You got it. And we'll do what we gotta do. We gotta work together as a team, okay? Like bobsledders against the damn world. And you gotta listen. She doesn't like to listen. And I don't blame her. I don't blame her. That's our approach to her walking on a leash in neighborhoods. Um, she doesn't listen, and I'm like, I get it. Why would you want to listen to me? I would, if I were a dog, I wouldn't want to listen to me either and be tied up to a human being, pulling and tugging me and telling me where to go. That's depressing. I'd be depressed as fuck, and then I would get angry, and then I'd want to run away. That's why animals do run away. You know, they're not fucking happy. I know Yoki will never run away, but that's my job to make sure that she's getting what she wants to do, which is not that much. She's not that fucking particular. She's not that, well, she is particular, but she's not that fucking um she doesn't ask for much. Good real food, like she deserves. WALKs, stretching the legs, sunshine, fresh air, a blanket when she's cold, water, pets all the time, 24/7 pets. You know, half of my life would just be spent petting her ass, and that's all she wants. She just wants me to pet her. When we go down to the Riverwalk, her favorite thing to do, ironically enough, is to sit there, not walking. She goes down there to observe people, and she likes to watch people. And then if there's a squirrel, she loves to chase squirrels, and sometimes little KITTYCATSs. You don't say the name out loud because it alerts her. You know, I've learned that little trick from somebody else where they don't say the term squirrel. You just spell it, the SQs. I think I got a little bit of Suzanne from Texas in me. Um, Not because I took her spirit, but I inherited a lot of things from my Texas mother, who I still consider to this day to be Suzanne O'Brien. Maybe I'll be doing a lot of other activities. Maybe this is about me because I'm in a prison cell. When you're trapped on a certain particular property. Oh, hold on. I gotta check this. When you're trapped on a certain property, you're in prison. If you can't really go I mean, I can always walk somewhere, but oops, that's the wrong word. But Yoki will always insist on going with me, and her timing belt is about she wants to sit for 2 hours, and I don't like sitting where she wants to sit. So you know, if I just do what she says, there's no problem. But if I try to push her to move before she's ready, she's like, she gets really aggy with me, which I understand. It's her will and it's my will colliding, and who's going to get their way? And I try to give her, anyway. So when we go down to the Riverwalk, she just wants to sit there. Usually, she won't do. Some days she'll be like, I want to do super WALKs and just fucking 3 mile it, just continuous pound the pavement. And then some days she just wants to sit there and me pet her for 3 hours straight. And I'm just talking because I'm actively waiting on the phone call from the mechanic shop to hear about the complication that they ran into fixing my ball bearing joint, wheel bearing joint, whatever the fuck, yesterday. So I didn't anticipate that to turn into an all day ordeal and bleed into today. you know, and now it's cold and rainy, and it's kind of shitty. So I'm trying to make the best of it, and all I can do for myself in terms of a hobby, I don't have that many. It's doing WLKs, it's sitting in the sun, it's reading, it's talking, and that's it. I'm not in the mood to watch TV. I don't distract myself. That's what's happening when I'm going through something. It's really something that I'm going through. I don't try to distract myself by watching TV, movies, and I just sink right on in there and rip it by the fucking horns and ride that bull wherever the fuck we gotta go, because it's gonna take you. And in the South, we all understand. I'm not gonna speak for the North or the Midwest, where maybe things always work out for you the way you want it to. In the South, most of us down here understand the power of no control. You know, that's kind of like the hillbilly way of life. The hill stepper way of life, the honky way of life, the African American way of life. Shit you can't control, and you do the best that you can to piece all the ends together. You know, I'm just talking about regular folk, not people with money, just the regular populace. You know, and that's what most people are going through. Just trying to figure it out. I'm not here to get into all the particulars of their life situation and why they're going through what they're going through and all the decisions they made that caused this and that. I don't give a fuck about y'all um, at all. Let me do something real quick. We got to work as a team, Luli. We're in this together, no matter what. And she's like, it's really crazy though. And I'm just talking to pass the time because there's one thing I hate. I don't like to wait. There's one thing I don't like to do. Excuse me, I had to do some. Excuse me to whoever's going to watch this later because no one's watching it now. Who cares? What I don't like to do is actively wait, meaning I'm like sitting in a waiting room. That just in the room pacing bullshit, waiting on something. That's what going to the mechanic's like. It's like going to the doctor and you're just waiting on the bad news or maybe the better news or it's not as bad as we thought news. That's the car is no different. Or any type of scenario where mechanics are involved in problems. We're going to tell you how bad it is. But the car is so akin to the human body in that way of the doctor being the mechanic. And, you know, I don't have to go to the doctor as a human being. And I've been sick as a dog and didn't go to a doctor. But if my car is sick as a dog, you know, the car is not the human body. The car does not have regenerative properties. I'm just streaming to actively pass the time because I have nothing left. If you want some coffee, I think I've lost at least 15 pounds. Stress does a number on the body. My stomach has shrunk at least two full sizes. I know it in the last 24 hours. 24 hours. It's our friends, Lou. And these two little dogs. One lives right next door, and the other one lives another door down from next door. They don't ever get to go anywhere, you know. And I have to take that in, you know. They don't ever get to go anywhere. They're smaller, you know, but they're more locked down than Yoki is. So that's why our yard is a safe haven for the animals to have a little bit more space to run around. Okay. And they run and they play. It's okay. Everybody, it's okay, Lou. And they come out here and they play in our yard. It's just a part of the neighborhood deal, you know. Come here, Lou. Come here, Lou. It's all right. Come here. It's okay. Lay down. Come here. Lay down. Lay down. Come on. Lay down. Lay down. So this does complicate things in a lot of ways. And then in a lot of ways, I don't fucking care. I woke up last night lots of times. I don't even know what I was dreaming about. That's Yoki, kitty. Okay. All right. That's Yoki. Woke up lots of times shivering. Um, and some would say, well, it's just that's because it's cold, you know, and it is colder. But no, it's like the panic, you know, fight or flight kicks in and I can't turn it off. So I kept waking up, and every time I'd come out from my sleep, I'm like met with this feeling of that I couldn't turn off. I still feel it now. It's just this super awake, like zingy feeling in my chest area, you know. And then I'm like, okay, just it's all right, you know. It's all right. And then I go back to sleep, and then I'd wake up again, and it's the same thing. And that repeated itself a few times. And when I'm going through that, I mean, I can't turn it off. I mean, there's really nothing. I can't. The physical effects of stress and just when my fight or flight gets triggered. And no, I'm not going to go do a bunch of fucking breath work. Plus, it's also freezing now and the temperature drops. So that's not really helping. But this has all definitely got me in the feeling of just I don't know. It's like there was this time, streaming all these months where I felt this um, intertwinement with everybody else in a certain way. I don't feel that in that way anymore. Um, Based off of this past weekend and needing to just energetically separate myself from the people on the internet because these energies just twist and they turn and they fucking ravel themselves around you. Not in a good fucking way. Okama. So I don't feel as connected to people on social media anymore, specifically on here, where for a while I did feel like the people watching my channel were way too involved in my energy. And that happens to anybody who utilizes social media regularly. The opinions and thoughts and feelings of other people can easily infiltrate your life if you're somebody who utilizes social media regularly. And because of how I utilize social media, specifically YouTube, and people have direct, quote, access to me in real time, um, their energies way more easily can creep inside my life more than somebody who uploads videos or just posts pictures. And those people still have to deal with it also, but it's a different way of it coming through when you're live streaming. So I don't really feel that as hard as I did even like a week ago, because it was starting to get to that point where people who shouldn't matter to me are mattering way too much, and I don't know how to get rid of them. Which is why part of the reason why I made my channel private for 48 hours. Um, and now everything that's played out since yesterday, literally nothing else is happening in my mind. So I have nothing to say about really anybody, which, good for me, right? Those days were done anyway. So, but I know that some people are, why aren't you doing what you usually do on YouTube? Well, ironically enough, I already canceled my StreamYard subscription. And then they were having a sale, because I use StreamYard and the special effects for Infinity. So like, oh, they have a deal going on for $10. I just like, all right, I'll pay for that. I'm not going to pay $25.99, you know. But I'm acclimating. It's very hard to explain, like, but I once again, I'm living my life. I know how shit happens in my brain, and I can very easily articulate how it works in my brain in terms of fear, anxiety. It's a very specific pattern of events that happens only in my mind. And then it builds off of that, and the feeling it's a feeling that I cannot control, and I feel it very strongly. um it's more of a bracing feeling where the stomach goes on lock. I say the stomach, I know it's the midsection, but I mean, I'm just gonna say the stomach. I don't fucking care about your knowledge of the goddamn human body due to dissection, all these particulars of where the stomach is in the human body. Like, just shut the fuck up, all right? Does that really matter right now, where the stomach is located in my body? No, it doesn't. See, then you find out, and I've always known this, and it's funny. I will bring this up now. All of these little healing techniques that everybody has, herbs and breathing works and yoga, what they're not telling you is that it's not solving their anxiety. They're not telling you that. They do all those rituals and they sell the idea that you'll be in perfect peace in your body. But what they're not telling you is that they're always full of anxiety and they go through shit and they don't talk about it. You know, they just don't talk about um, their stresses and their worries and their fears because that's admitting it's a form of defeat when you're open about what you get stressed about, what you're worried about. Um, it's a certain psychological defeatism that happens to have to admit that to other people, especially if you're somebody who is representing some higher power that you have absolute trust and faith in, or you're representing some I live in perfect bliss state because I do all of these things and therefore I'm always smiling and happy and at peace. Those people have a very difficult time letting other people know how they feel, particularly when we're talking about the areas of stress and anxiety and depression, because they're wanting everyone to believe they're fucking happy 24/7 and they have shit to sell. They're in a very big dilemma to even admit there's anything going on. It's okay, Lou. I sat down in this chair and I had the cup sit it in the goddamn wine thing and I felt this sting in my ass. I'm like, I sat on a bee and it was my coffee. My coffee had spilled all in my, yeah, it felt like a damn bee sting. Sis, give me a few more minutes and because that's going to be a whole feat in itself. And I promise you what I'm going to do instead of doing the library, we'll go to the right because there is a patch of woods. I looked on Google Maps on the satellite and where that extended stay is. If we just go down the hill and we turn right on that little, you know what I mean? We're going towards the library, headed down the hill, and we just turn right on that road that has that, little cutaway thing by that school up at the top. Yeah. Yeah. There's a hotel thing back there, but there's a whole field and a patch of woods that's pretty large for just bebopping instead of doing the library pop, because that crossing that fucking road. Plus, it's a decent more place to sit, and there ain't no, you know what I mean. It's more of the ghetto area. So that's my plan. And I'm not going to call them because they got to call me. And who knows what complication they ran into. They might have fucked up something themselves. And that's the complication. Because he said it's a complication. I'm waiting on another part to see if that will work. And if that doesn't work, we're going to have to go do something else. Like over a wheel bearing joint? That's supposed to be fucking easy. What kind of complication did you fucking run into except maybe you made a mistake? Yeah. Well, I'll fix it. Because now it's like this car ain't ever going to get fixed just from the wheel bearing joint. But then I'm like, well, if I wasn't locked on this property, certain things would not be said or thought of because I would just zoom on down the road and watch some bullshit on my phone. Would I not? I would. I don't give a fuck what's going on in the damn world right now because all I can know is in my little pea pod. I got to worry about what I got to go do. I mean, if the whole neighborhood got shut up, it doesn't really matter to me because my car needs to get fixed. I don't see how I'm supposed to worry about your problems when I got problems. You know. So y'all finally got me off your necks talking about mind your own business. Well, give me a problem and then I promise you I'll leave you alone. Because when I got a problem and it's my car, I promise you I don't give a fuck about you at all. I don't care about what you're doing. I don't care who you're talking to, who you're hanging out with, if you're smiling or frowning, if you're dead or alive. I don't give a damn. Nobody. It's not real to me. You know, when my car's in the shop, I'm not a very giving a fuck person. And if you were me, you wouldn't either. And that's not to say y'all need to give a shit about me. Um, in my opinion, nobody does, except the people I live with. I don't know if anybody who watches my channel gives a fuck about me. It's not even on my radar to think about. Because you know what you ain't gonna do? You ain't gonna help me pay for this car. You ain't gonna help me pay for this damn car. Ain't nobody on YouTube helping me pay my bills. And there's an old basic hoe adage of, if you ain't paying my bills, why the hell should I give a fuck about you? And I think we need to head back to that. Let's just get back to the reality of the system and how this works in the system. Not in the ultimate reality of life, but just the system. If you ain't helping pay my bills, I don't hear you. And I don't give a fuck if I'm poor. You ain't paying my bills, bitch. You ain't paying for my groceries. You ain't paying for my gas. You ain't paying for my insurance. Now, if you are paying for it, I'll listen to your opinion. But if you ain't paying my bills, bitch, I don't hear you. You're not real. You're not giving me what I need. And you're not even taking it away. What you're doing is just taking my energy, talking about nonsensical shit about, haha, you're poor. Like, that don't pay my bills nor take away anything that I got. You didn't make my house move out from under my feet because you said, haha, you're poor, or how I get my money. It don't matter how I get my money. How do you get yours? What difference does it make, right? And I'm not getting on YouTube doing a goddamn GoFundMe campaign. I just accept, oh, well, I'm not going to get on the internet and beg again. Been done that. Like a lot of people do when they go and, oh, just can somebody donate to my cause? I mean, if you want to donate to my cause, I got a PayPal, but I ain't going to get on here and beg. Please help right now. Because I know everybody else got shit going on. I mean, hello. How are they going to afford to pay for my life when they got bills? It's how I see it. So, I just accept defeat. Fiscal defeat. And yes, these times make me a lot stronger, which is dangerous for you, not me. Because y'all should always hope that Joy doesn't have to go through something. Because when Joy has to go through something, that soul churning, she comes out 10 more times potent than she was. So y'all should always be praying that nothing bad happens to me. Especially you people who can't stand me and want me to go the fuck away, possibly die. I understand. I feel the same way too sometimes. But whoever's willing to pull the fucking trigger, I mean, Jesus Christ. But y'all should be always hoping that, I never have to go through something stressful like this. Because when I do, I get a certain type of mentality and other things happen on the other side. So, oh well, y'all were hoping bad things happen to me and it did. Right? Isn't this what everyone was hoping to happen? She got what she deserved. Her car's in the shop. Yeah, most people's cars go to the shop. My car wasn't the only car that went to the shop yesterday. People's cars go to the shop all day. It's not really a sign of karma. Not really. Or is it? I don't know. It's hard to say. because everybody's car is going to fuck up one day. No matter how nice of a car you drive, it doesn't matter. You will end up in the shop at least once in your life. At least once, bitch. Right? So I don't view this as karma at all. I just view this as a transformative time that I wasn't planning on happening on this in this week. And I'm repeating myself from yesterday, but it doesn't matter because I'm waiting right now for the news from the goddamn car doctor. I have $700 in cash to utilize for the repairs that I'm supposed to be getting, which when I dropped it off after hearing the $5,000 tag mark, blah, 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 and I just said, just fix my wheel bearing joint, thanks, and give me an alignment. That's $90 for the alignment, and that's fucking 300 something dollars for the wheel bearing joint, however you say it, something. So we don't know what else could have gone wrong, but I got $700. And the last thing you want, I'm just going to talk about all the specifics because people go through this all the time. It's these seemingly insignificant matters that we all go through at some point in time. The real life experiences, not these pseudo spiritual fifth dimensional bullshit people, but just like, because the spiritual people that we talk about over here and have talked about, they go through regular people shit all the time. They just don't talk about it because it makes them feel too regular. Their car breaks down too. I don't care if they're astral planning and doing DMT every day. Their car also breaks down. They get fucking plumbing issues too. They got to pay car insurance also. I don't care what astral dimension they live in and how many interdimensional beings they communicate with. They still got to pay bills and use money, bitch. They do. So, I mean, you're not that magical, Drew. Like, you still use money. You're still driving a car. You're not magical to me. Until you don't need a car, the person who doesn't need a car and doesn't need money, like literally you don't need it and you're still eating. And once again, we're not talking about starving. We're not talking about, I'm just going to starve and eat out of dumpsters. No, I'm not talking about that bullshit. I'm talking about if I find the person who doesn't need money at all and is living purely freely, still eating good foods, and is warm and not suffering at all, then I'll say they're fucking magical. I have never seen that person. Ever, ever, ever. And believe me, I've looked. Back in my more naive days, I used to look for the person who was living fully off the grid. And just to clarify, because I have nothing better to do while I'm sitting here in my personal waiting room for my car doctor to call me, for me, off the grid means I don't need money. I don't need anybody. And that person, those people do not exist. And I'm fully living in nature, meaning no human built, human made things exist in my life. That's what off the grid means to me. Because if you're having to still go to the system for anything, supplies, electricity, tools, you're not off the grid, bitch, in my opinion. And I have not seen that person. You know why? Because it's impossible to do. How many people made where I live possible? A lot of people. If I were to take every little item that I have, a lot of hands made that happen. It takes a lot of people just for one person to exist in a place that I'm living in, right? Like this, just this shitty fucking house that most people would just call like, ew, This, by the way, this is what most houses look like in this city. The average house is built this way because this is a city where 2/3 of the people live in poverty. Okay. So the average person lives at or below the poverty line. So I don't feel that alone out here. Just everybody who's at or below the poverty line is always in a very bad mood. Drugs are rampant here. Violence is rampant. And, you know, that's what makes it all very annoying because you don't necessarily feel safe at all time in any point in time of the day. And if you were to visit any forum regarding Columbus, Georgia, most of the people in said forum will have nothing good to say about this place. But everyone is too poor to leave. Like most places in the South. Most places in the South are ridden with poverty. The real South. Not Atlanta. And Atlanta's got a lot of fucking impoverished areas too, but they don't want to talk about that. It's okay, Lou. Let me finish this, okay? And I promise you, we're waiting for the sun to come out a little bit because it's so fucking cold, and we're going to do a 2-miler today, okay? And you got to get your walking boots on, okay? Cannot fail me. Okay, you cannot fail me. You can't be crippled and be stuck on the side of the road, and then we're going to struggle to get you back to the house. All right? Sis, don't worry about it. I know she's wondering, she's used to our routine every single day, every day, every day, every day, of getting in the car in the morning, driving to the Riverwalk, and being there for a few hours and coming back. So the routine is broken, and Yoki's looking around and asking, okay, even though she's been very chill, but she knows what's going on. I'm also waiting for traffic to cool down before I walk her on that godforsaken road because school buses are out picking up kids. It's just a lot going on for me to be walking, and I know it's going to be 2 dogs down the goddamn busy fucking road. And I can't walk her in the neighborhood because of how she likes to be. There's no real sidewalks, and she likes to sit on the side of the road and just chill sometimes. Can't do that in the fucking neighborhood. Chella, get out her butt. Come here. She's trying to go pop-pop. She has to go potty, and Chella be up her ass about it. It's my job to make sure my children are happy and safe. And my children, Chella, move. Come here. Go ahead, Yoki. You're about to go potty. I see you doing it. Go poopy. Go poopy. You're about to go. She doesn't like to poop in the backyard. Just go ahead and do it, sis. Quit holding your poop. Good morning. Up. Kitty's up a tree. Chella. Neutral mood. I don't know. I feel panicked. I mean, I've purged a lot of, ain't nobody up there, guys. Y'all be bouncing at the tree. Ain't nobody there. And now they gonna run. Go in Darren's yard, okay? I don't know if I'm in a more neutral mood or not, Ray Ray. Grandma, she don't know how to feel. She's got the nervousness, right? In the what they call the solar plexus, the fancy term for your gut. I'm getting away from all these pseudo spiritual terminologies where the everyday person don't understand what the hell you're talking about. I don't need to sound special. All right. Just say your gut, bitch. So I still got a little nervous tension in my gut, mainly because I'm waiting to hear from the mechanic about what the hell's going on with the goddamn wheel bearing joint shit. And when they don't call and it's like, okay, we ran into some when they tell you we ran into some complications and you don't hear back from them because they said they're going to call you back and you don't hear back from them, and then you just
waiting and waiting, and just it's just the waiting and the waiting, and then day turns into night, and then it's the next day, you know, and you're just waiting to hear something. That's all. My sister is about to apply for the house this morning, and I'm still panicked about that. I looked at the calendar and my timing is off because they said they could hold it for 2 weeks for us. Our move-in date will be January. And I realized, well, there's like 7 days that are not accounted for out of those 2 weeks. So hopefully, you know, but I try not to put too much hope in anything because don't want you to get ideas. The problem is having ideas, and then when those ideas don't pan out, you're depressed, you know. I'm not trying to be no victim of my own fucking ideas. Um, I'm realistic. I'm not a manifest destiny type of bitch where manifest your own reality bullshit. I don't believe in that bullshit. Um, Mainly because I don't believe in the system at all. So it's not. I don't really look for anything in the system to make me happy. It's very hard to explain to people who are systemites, is what I call them. And people who are in the spiritual community are systemites. They just have a different way of expressing their belief in the system, you know. And I don't care. You can believe in the system all day. I mean, I don't believe in the system, but if it's not like I'm bothered because you do, because that's what I've lived my whole life. You know what I mean? There was a time when I would get really aggy towards anybody who was believing in the system, and then I had to remember, oh wait, that's all I've ever known is people who believe in the system. So it's not like it's anything fucking new, you know? So why am I acting brand new? Of course people believe in the system. This is all they know. What else are they going to believe in? Nature? Of course not. There's only two things you can believe in: human shit and nature. There's no in between. There's not many options out here, you know. So I'm not hopeful at all. Hope is a strong word. Hope for me implies hoping. Like putting my whole all the eggs in that basket. And I've done that before. I've made decisions where I put all the eggs in a basket and there was no other alternative and I just had to go with it. That's not the case here. Um, because we do have the option just to stay here. And we know this place. Like this place is known. This place is, I mean, there's no problem with this place outside of just walking the damn dogs. The ambiance is as good as it's going to get for the price that we pay, you know. And many other reasons why, you know, you have to for me it's just trusting the higher powers for where I'm supposed to be, and it's difficult. It's very difficult. um I go through my periods where I ask the good old God question of why, God, why am I where I'm supposed to be? um and that I feel is a very natural response to just everything, you know. Am I where I'm supposed to be? And when I say where I'm supposed to be, I mean that in every sense of the word. It's an internal, am I where I'm supposed to be inside myself in terms of how I'm behaving, my personal modalities of myself. And then it goes into the physical situation of where I'm physically located on the map. You know, am I where I'm supposed to be? Because I do believe in divine timing and divine location. Um, due to what's going on in this world, like location, 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 right? Where, you know, where are you where you're supposed to be, like physically, geolocation. And nobody can tell you if you are. There's no one person that can look at me and say, you're where you need to be. In fact, if they tell me that, I'll tell them to fuck off because that makes me feel like I'm not. Like, why are you telling me that? What do you want, you know? If you're coming up to me saying you're where you're supposed to be, that tells me you probably have an agenda that I'm not necessarily comfortable with. Um, And I'm not going to lie, and I've expressed this on here before. Um, when we first moved here, it was unmistakable the feeling of, wow, I'm where I'm supposed to be, and I understand why I'm here. When we first moved here, I had deja vu out the ass. It's like I had been here before. Everything was very familiar. Everything was fine. But there was days in 2020 that I was wondering if we had moved to the wrong place. It came every blue moon. Um, and I was like, am I, because you can remember where you've been before. And I know everybody goes through this at some point in their life where you're at now starts to be questionable versus where you were maybe 3 years ago or where you were 5 years, just sometime before now. You can look back and say, did I make the wrong move? And as that person, and I'm speaking for myself also, but I know this is relatable. You know that everything that you've lived has led you to this point, right? Everything. Your whole life is this, your life, my life. This is what we do all have in common. No matter what we believe, no matter what your decisions are, what we all have in common as human beings is this. Your life is a seamless, continuous chain of quote unquote events until you die, which is also an event. It's a big event because you're dead. But your death does have an impact, you know? And I don't mean that in a derogatory term. I mean, nothing bad comes from death, just the process of death. Nothing bad happens. And there's really nothing to fear after death. I don't believe in heaven or hell. I do not believe that we will be punished when we're dead. I believe that the biggest punishment that most of us ever experience is while we're alive, and the feelings of guilt and shame and just suffering. That's hell. But I don't personally believe that there is a hell in the afterlife. I don't know what happens, but I don't believe there's punishment on the other side of this life. I believe we've all received a lot of punishment while we've been alive. I do believe that. I've been punished. I mean, I've lived in hell all in myself. So you're trying to convince me of a fiery place after this life. It's been pretty fiery I mean, look at me. Before and after, you know. And then I like to do this little exercise, and this is not a game of being thankful because other people have it worse, but it seems like that. So what you have to do when you're really going through whatever you're going through, talking to me first and foremost, you have to zoom out of your life and you have to see other people because it's so easy to get so locked into your pains and struggles and sufferings and stresses that you forget that there are all of these other people out here all over the world who are going through very interesting situations. For instance, just take this in, considering Americans really don't care about any other country, especially what's considered to be the third world. In Indonesia right now, people are struggling to survive because a volcano erupted. That's something unfathomable for a place like where I live. A volcano. A volcano. What the fuck is that? I ain't never seen one. A volcano. What is comparable to a volcano in the state of Georgia? Nothing. A volcano. And so this volcano erupted suddenly, and the sky literally turned black. And it was daytime. I watched the video and I was amazed. I'm like, holy shit. There was no sunshine, bruh. That's how dark it got. And a bunch of fucking people died, and their entire village is covered in ash. And if you've never dealt with volcanic ash, I mean, I know that the basic hoes of America love their nature-y, volcano-y proclivities when it pertains to the pores of their skin, you know. But, volcanic ash, when it's really out of a volcano's ass, ain't that fucking fun to deal with, sis. You just like to buy that little jar of residual ash for your pore size. But when you're dealing with volcanic ash that covers an entire village, that's like concrete, you know? That's the original concrete, you know? And so people are trying to dig out of that. You got children, families who've lost everything in an instantaneously. Take that in. I've never experienced instantaneous loss. Like the closest thing I've experienced to instantaneous loss, it wasn't a natural disaster, but it kind of was because it was my parents who kicked me out and disowned me. And I lost my dog and my place to live and a lot of my belongings because I couldn't carry them on my back. Um, and that was instantaneous loss, you know. But I've never experienced like a fire, taking out everything I have, which is happening a lot lately. I mean, every day I hear about, and these are the most commonplace tragedies that we hear about that we don't really think much of, like house fires or apartment fires. And there's been a lot of those every single day. Somebody's house is burning down every single day. An apartment building is burning down every single day. And what that means is the people that were living there no longer have a place to live, right? And immediately we like to think of, well, they probably got insurance or, it doesn't really matter if they do. Like, let's just say it's a house. It doesn't matter if they have a house insurance because the issue is they still got to find another place to live, which is very stressful. And there's already an affordable housing shortage. There's just a housing shortage in general. There's really not that many places to live, especially if you're trying to, stay in the same type of place, because most people, a lot of people don't be moving a lot. If you're renting or, obviously if you quote are a homeowner, you don't just be moving a lot. Some people rent at the same place for 10, 15 years and they never leave. Some people do like to move around more. That's very few and far between though, because if everybody knows something, it's this. Moving is a bitch. Moving is annoying. And the more shit you have, I mean, moving for us, the moving process is not that big of a deal in terms of our physical belongings because we don't have no furniture, none. And we've done this on purpose because we've always known at some point we will move. And we don't feel like dealing with all of that. And we're fine. We're more outdoorsy people anyways, all of us. So I don't really give a fuck if I have a couch. I don't. If you have a couch, I'm not offended that you have a couch. I promise you, I don't care. I just don't feel like dealing with it. I'm not going to deal with all the stress. Get the furniture, the stressful, get the furniture bullshit. Then you got to move it all. That's stressful and annoying and more money. So I'm not hating on anybody who got furniture. I'm not offended. Are you offended that I don't have it myself? Like, who cares? But moving, and I take in all these scenarios anywhere when I'm feeling, I mean, I didn't do it yesterday because, I can't think about your stresses when I got to handle mine. But at some point when the brain calms down, you zoom out and you see other people, And it happened to me actually, ironically, yesterday when I was walking back the 2-mile walk. It's a bop. From the mechanic shop, I was walking past these little tiny rundown apartments that's on the main road, and I don't think it's project housing. It's not, but it's just like, really for low income people, right? And this lady was sitting out, she was standing, this older black lady was standing outside and there was this big old pit bull standing beside her. And I was a little intimidated and I'm not somebody who's afraid of dogs, but he'd just be staring at me and he didn't have a leash on. And she's like, Rufus, get inside. And so she opened the door for him and he walked inside and then she just said, Miss, do you have a cigarette? And a part of me wanted to keep going. I'm like, I'm in a bad mood, I just got the talk about my car and, don't want to be bothered. And keep that in mind, by the way, because when you're seeing anybody out here, I don't care if they're driving or on foot or whatever they're doing, you have no idea what that person's going through. You really don't. You have no idea the worries in their life, the stresses in their life, whether they're working a job. And people who work jobs, just because they're working a job to fulfill something you're expecting, they still got stresses and worries too. That's why I don't like, as frustrated as I get with waiting on a mechanic, I never try to harass them because number one, they're human beings that it's a very demanding job physically as a mechanic. And as frustrated as I can get, knowing because it's like my bills and it's the isolation of I got to pay for this and I got to wait. And it still doesn't matter because they're doing the best they fucking can. And they got lives and worries and stresses too that are probably consuming their mind as they're working. So the last thing they need is a bitch calling them and harassing them. You know, I try to keep a patient mind when even as, it's hard, but there ain't no need to, you have to consider other people. But that lady who asked me for a cigarette, she was going through shit. She ended up inviting me to sit on her porch stoop with her. I have never done that in my life on that road. It felt weird. I'm like, I'm just sitting on this porch stoop with this older black lady, and we just cracking jokes. What was her name? Lacey. I will never forget that because she was making a lazy joke. Um, and then she said her name was Lacey, and she has a big Southern drawl. So I'm saying, did you say your name's Lazy? Like, no, my name's Lacey. And so she asked me my name, and then we just sat there and she bitched about Social Security for a little while because she's retired and she was too lazy to walk to the store for a cigarette. So she asked me for a cigarette and I gave her a cigarette. And we sat there and chopped it up. And then I'm like, I just got to go in because I'm stressed out about my life. And I know you stressed out about yours. And I'm always big on believing in, you know, the helping each other thing comes to mind. Like, for instance, it's the little things. My neighbor, older black lady, she's probably in her 70s, almost 80s. She's got this really wily pit bull. That's her daughter's dog, that her daughter doesn't live there anymore. And I help out watching her dog, which is not a problem at all. Like, it takes me no energy to let her dog be over here. But that relieves the stress of Grandma Meemaw over there. I let my neighbors over here. If they asked me one night, they came over, do we have any jumper cables? Of course I'm going to share with you. Why would I not? I don't have no problem sharing with what I got. I don't have a lot. I don't have thousands of dollars to give nobody, but I mean, if we just talk about basic, like, can I get a jump from you? Can I borrow your lawn, your fucking rake? Can I borrow your fucking jumper cables? Of course you fucking can. What's so hard about sharing? you know? Because what's going to happen when you get in a situation and you need help? And were you somebody who was really wanting to help other people? And I'm not talking about breaking your damn back, you know, to killing yourself trying to help people do ridiculous shit. Like, can you help me build my patio? Like, I'm talking about, bitch, you need help. Like, your car's dead, can you give me a jump? Can you give me a ride? I'm not talking about unnecessary bullshit. Like, can you help me dig a hole so I can have a pool? Like, no, bitch, I'm not going to help you with your personal hobbies, but I'll help you if it's some shit where you're in some serious fucking need here. I ain't gonna help you all this other bullshit ideas that you got. I have an idea about I don't care about your damn ideas. Because people in the South always be gotten little ideas and projects. And I have this idea of maybe we can no, I'm good. It's taken me a long time growing up in the South to learn how to put my little tiny little foot down, my size 9 foot down. No, I'm good. Um, because it's a little give and a little take down here. Can you help me? I want to put a new landscaping thing in. Can you help me? No, you can figure that out. That's not a dire need situation. How about I go focus on the folks? that maybe need some food. Maybe they need me to pick up some groceries for them because they can't get to the store. Maybe they need a ride somewhere. I'll help those people. But you and your my Gordon project, I ain't gonna do it. Okay? You don't need help. You can just piddle around for the next 20 years and do your Gordon project. Okay? I need help putting furniture in my house. No, you don't. You don't. That ain't dire need. That ain't. Is your car working? We're talking about the basic necessities of the current situation. We don't live in the 1800s where you need transportation to get somewhere. Okay? What are the basic needs of our lives at this point in the modern age? Basic needs. Depending on your situation, you don't live in New York City, you need a car. You're going to need a ride. If you live in the city, New York City, then you don't know what the hell I'm talking about because you don't need a car in New York City. That's one of the luxuries of living in that city. But see, there's the downside of you dealing with all sorts of other shit, like no fresh air, thousands of people everywhere. I can't imagine walking a dog in New York City, and it's bad enough down here. This ain't shit, but walking a damn dog in New York City, god damn. You want to talk about stressful? That's why people be getting them little dogs because big dogs in New York City, shit, that don't make no damn sense. And if I'm not regretting having Yoki, but I'm gonna say this: ain't never gonna be another dog that I'm gonna get after Yoki because they deserve better than this bullshit. And it's really sick. Now we're deviating to another situation. How many animals that have been bred for people to not be able to take care of them? Because we're talking about dog breeding, is what we're talking about. And these animals don't have a habitat. Dogs and cats are not protected really like wild animals are, you know. And no animals are protected really, honestly, but it's just disgusting. Like a current problem in the world, in America at least, is the amount of animals that are filling the shelters, and they're gonna have to basically just kill them all because people are dumping their animals. They can't. It's the stresses. People are now more stressed than ever, so scruffy. It's getting harder and harder for them to take care of. You know what wasn't as irritating? The pandemic has changed everything. That's what I'm really getting at. I mean, my life didn't really change during the pandemic, and this whole time, I'd say it's the pandemic still, because restrictions have still been in place this entire time, and people's lifestyles have been turned upside down, just depending on what you do. Depending on what you do, some people's lives didn't seem to be altered at all, outside of having to wear a mask and shit like that. But a lot of people's little lives have been turned upside down, especially if you got kids. You know, I consider all these types of people with children, they're the most stressed of all right now and have been, you know, if they got kids, they super stressed. And it's stressful enough for me to have a dog. I cannot imagine having children. I cannot, especially with what's going on. The lockdown, people, the kids being at home, you get a routine. It's not as simple as, oh, one day we're just not going to do that routine anymore. Those routines are there for a reason to keep a certain copacetic atmosphere at the household. So when you suddenly change that routine, all of the moods that are involved, meaning everybody in the family, there's a big mood shift, right? And things start to come undone and unravel. That's why humans have their routines. The moment that routine is disrupted, psychological disturbances occur in the mind because that routine was needed to keep a certain, feeling of okayness. It's ritual. Humans are all about their little rituals. And, it's just as simple as, say, one morning, at this point, what's different is I don't have my car. So that's changed the flow of my day. It's changed the entire, just one thing, my morning routine. My morning routine for the last 2 years, give or take a few days, um, you know, with mechanical stuff, or I had to go somewhere in the morning every single day since I moved here. Every single day, give or take maybe 5 days, maybe. Every morning I have gotten up and gone to the river. Every day. That's my morning routine. My morning routine is the river, a cup of coffee, and a cigarette. And that's what I do. That me not having one of those three things is, but especially not having the river, like I can go to the river without a cup of coffee, you know, but not having the river, a coffee, and a cigarette, I got a coffee and I got a cigarette, but I ain't got the river. So my little day is a little off because I'm used to having that place just as a clearing my mind, my energy, and I don't have that right now. Our rituals are very important. And my ritual is my ritual. Your ritual might be I get up in the morning and I listen to the news and I do all these little things the same way every morning. And just take this as an example. One day you wake up in the morning and the power's out because there was a storm. That kind of fucks up your morning, because your ritual is disrupted. People, humans, I don't care who they are. I don't care from what spectrum of America we're pulling from, whether it be biker club, dude, just different types of people is what we're talking about. You know, what people consider to be different types of personalities. I don't care if you take the average biker dude or you take the yogi bitch, the one who does yoga and that type of personality. Or you take the fucking just the school teacher lady, with her little simple, just these personalities and the athlete. It doesn't matter. Everybody has their routine and it's their routine and it's their routine. And their routine might seem silly to you, and you might be like, well, fuck your routine. But I promise you, their routine is important for them to keep sane. That's why, and people don't talk about this because we don't think about it to even have these conversations. But just as simple as anybody who's used to a certain daily routine, and this includes working, by the way. I am including going to work. That's a part of a serious routine. Whether people hate it or love it, that's still a part of their routine. They're used to it. They do it. Da, 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 da. God's part of the routine. And you have your before I go to work routine. Then you have your, okay, I'm at work. And then we have our after work routine. So anything that disrupts that happening, like, okay, we don't have the work. I got to go to the mechanic. Like yesterday, I saw a military dude at the mechanic shop. This is outside of his routine. So your day is a little bit weirder for you. Anything that breaks routine, even if it's just for a day, is weird, and people behave differently when their routine is being disrupted. But you don't know about it because you don't know anybody, as we're out here dealing, you don't even know what people, I always remember that as I'm living in this city, even my neighbors, I have no idea what's going on in their lives and they live right there. You know, it's crazy. We don't talk to each other and we live right next to each other. We don't know what they're going through. When you're driving around town, you don't know what the fuck anybody's living outside of you see them driving, you see them pulling into mostly, businesses. That's all that's happening. People pulling into businesses, um, grocery stores, retail, that's still a business. It's just business all day. It's always business as usual, no matter how anyone's feeling. People are, grieving. Plenty of people have had their loved ones murdered yesterday. If we tally how many murders happened in America yesterday, there are people who woke up this morning in a total state of grief because somebody that they knew and loved, and we're talking about family members. We're not talking about associates and workers. I'm talking about the family members woke up this morning and are in a state of grief because their family member was murdered yesterday. So their day is not going the same way yours and mine is. And their car may not be in the shop, but their loved one's dead, you know? And that's also what I've been feeling in the air. It's just pure grief because there have been so many fucking murders. So many. It's really unbelievable. It really is. And I've been talking about this on this shitty channel for months now, how bad it is. Because I pay attention to all the little news stories from all the little local channels all over America. I have a little sample from all over America to listen to, and it's really fucking bad. So people, what about the people who were going through that? Number one, I don't know them, so it's hard to really get that vibe because you're hearing stuff about people that you don't even know usually. But somebody knows them, you know, and it gets closer and closer to you, you know. Some things that might seem far away are closer than you think. And I'm talking about murder. Um, Nobody in my family in the last 2 generations, three, outside of war and Vietnam and the Civil War and the Indian Wars and tribal wars of the 1600s. Not in any recent memory. With the people that are still alive in my family, nobody's ever been murdered. So we've never, like I'm talking about human killing a human, murder. No. But it's not that far away, you know. It's not that hard for me to understand and the grief of somebody who's lost a loved one from violence. I mean, I've experienced and brushed up against it. I've seen it. I understand. Um, it's not anything I would want to experience, you know. Not with anybody that I live with. Now, I can honestly say, and this is going to sound fucked up, but I don't really care. I wouldn't give a fuck if one of my extended family members were murdered. If I woke up tomorrow and I found out my cousin was murdered, honestly, I wouldn't care, you know? Now, you'll say that's fucked up, and I say, well, I can't help it that I don't give a fuck if my cousin was murdered. Now, I know that my cousin's mom would give a fuck, and that's fine. I can't take away her giving a fuck about her daughter being murdered. I'm just saying, I personally would not care if any of my extended family was murdered. I would feel nothing. Now, if my dad was murdered, I would feel something. Would it be total grief? I don't know. I'm not that close to my dad. I would probably go through a grieving period, yes. But I mean, but if one of the people I lived with was murdered, which means the people I care about the most in that way, oh yeah, I'd be very upset. I'd be very upset. I'd probably go on a killing spree myself. And that's what ends up happening. And that's what the police prevent. Something that wasn't existent 300 years ago. See, if you fucked with my family 300 years ago, I'm allowed to fuck with yours. And that's how the Civil War started. Civil War is just all about families fighting each other. That's real Civil War. This legend of the Civil War in America, I don't know what the fuck that is. I have no idea. But for me, what I know about Civil War, it starts as family feuding, and you kill my Uncle John, and my family's gonna come and kill you, bitch. And then it just becomes retaliation. That's the original gang wars, is familial wars. Now it's less about the familial because a lot of these killings, people don't really know that person per se directly, but it's more dispersed of the same situation. Now, if you get in these smaller towns, because in big cities it's harder to see, because they make a big stink about it. It's all being random acts of violence, and nothing's random. Nothing's random. But if you get in these smaller towns, these smaller localities, it's easier to see how the violence goes round and round because it's such a small environment, and retaliation is easier to trace in a small town like High Island. When I lived there, it was so easy to trace. Okay, he stabbed him, and now he's going to do that to him, and it just goes on and on and on and on, and then everyone gets touched. Lots of movies and TV shows have been made about the small town everybody gets touched phenomena, because that's how it works. Go back 500 years ago, we're living in smaller communities. This phenomena of major cities is a very new phenomena, in the last 100 years. Major cities did not exist even 100 years ago, not the way they are now. So we were all living in smaller environments, mostly around family. It wasn't a big, situation of we're going to move far away from our family members. You just pretty much lived like my dad's side of the family. Um, in the it's in Unicoi, the area of Tennessee, um, in the western side of North Carolina. And what is the name? Goddamn, Burnsville, North Carolina is where my dad's side of the family is, and eastern. You know how the border of Tennessee and North Carolina come together. Those people pretty much stayed in the same place, in the same region, and just the family just stays and stays and stays and stays. So it's that long term shit, when the family, everyone just lives in the same area because the whole idea back then of living was family. We stay around each other. That's the point of this. Nobody moves away really. For the average part, we all stick together. Cousins, uncles, aunties, we all live in the same region, right? And that was how people lived for hundreds of years. It was more of a familial based society. And I do mean that in the purest sense of familial, where you live together around each other. It's not about, okay, I'm going to leave Papa, Meemaw, I'm going to go live 1,000 miles away. That's unheard of. Like, no, you're my family. We all live close to each other, you know. But not in in the modern age, it's about everybody go live your own separate lives far, far away. Um, I can't speak on the Vietnam thing right now because I'm on a certain path of So that's why me and my sister, people talk a lot of shit. People on the internet, the average person does not know, what the fuck my household has going on. People that see me on the street they don't know what we're living. They don't care. Only the internet. Why? Because I'm bringing you into my life. And I didn't have to. Remember, I could have gotten on here and made up stories about myself and done a lot of things differently, but I didn't. So we live like primitive peoples, but just in the modern age, meaning we stay together. We're a tribe. We do have that mentality. My sister Emily, that I'm blood related to, Okama, me, Yoki, and everybody else. I don't care if people tell you live with your sister. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad that I do. I'm very happy that I live with my sister. I am. I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel ashamed. I don't know how I could feel ashamed that I live with my sister. I'm glad that I don't live alone. That would be pretty miserable to just live alone. I've lived that lifestyle of living in my own place, my own apartment. Very miserable way to live. So I don't envy anybody who lives alone. And if you're okay with being alone in your own little fucking house or apartment, more power to you. That's not my thing. Meaning I'm okay living with the people that I'm living with. I'm very okay with that. The people that I live with is not a problem for me at all. I live with my community. We have a mini commune in our own household, meaning we're all sharing. That's how we live. Now, my sister has her job. She's had this job way before I ended up living with her. She was on that path and she invited me to live with her. That's how we ended up living together. It was never a part of my life plan to live with my sister Emily. In fact, I wanted nothing to do with her because I knew that if I got close with her, it would bring me back to my parents. And I'm not going to lie, and I've been honest with her about it. There's been many times when I've cursed her the fuck out in private and telling her I hate her and that I should have never lived with her because I want nothing to do with my parents. And because she goes to see them a lot, to see my little brother, it's a direct tie to them, you know. But that's not her fault. But no, I don't personally feel bad about living with. I mean, there's plenty of people. That's why I hate Americans because they're so weird. Like there's plenty of people. When I lived in Miami, for instance, lived in North Miami Beach in this tiny little efficiency apartment, and I had no problem with it. I was quite content. It overlooked the water. I was a couple miles from the beach, North Miami Beach, right? And I bicycled down to the little bodega and bought myself my Cuban bread and my black beans. And I lived off bread and black beans literally for about 3 months, right? And I was fucking happy to a point. I wasn't totally happy, but I wasn't bothered about the materialism aspect. I had like 3 pairs of clothes. But there was families that lived in this tiny little, they all lived together. Grandma, Cubans, grandma whatever however they speak their language. I'm not proficient in Spanish, and I'm not going to sit here and butcher the language just so I can seem like that I know something. That's super gay. Kitty and Yoki. We will, Yoki. I'm waiting for it to warm up just a little bit more. Um, I saw plenty of people, different sides of town, Little Haiti and near Homestead. Basically, they all live together. Grandma, auntie, the wife, the husband. I've seen Arabic peoples do this. I've seen Indian peoples do this. I've seen Dot and the Feather. They don't have any problem with everybody living together even in the same house. Hispanic people do this. Only white America has an issue with that. Even in my neighborhood, there's people like right 2 houses, 3 houses down. They got children in there. They got uncle. They got auntie. They got mima. They got everybody in a house as big as mine, right? I don't give a fuck who lives with you. Why is that a thing? Wow, you live with that person? Why is that a fucking thing? Who gives a fuck who you live with? Like, why is that a thing in white America? White America makes you feel like when you graduate college, you got to go get your own place and then you got to get married. And that's the only person you should ever live with is your wife or your husband. Like, you're not allowed to have roommates at the age of over the age. I'm like, bitch, if I'm not married, I'm going to have a roommate because who the fuck wants to live all alone? It's not good for your mental health. And plenty of people do it. People my age, I'm talking about people my age where you're still got more life to live. No offense to older people, but you don't have many years left. Let's be real. We're talking about people who there's still things that, whatever. The point is, I'm only talking about people my age. Oh, you have a roommate and you're 34, you're 29. Who gives a fuck if you have a roommate? That's not even the issue. I don't care who you live with. Are you a liar though? You know, that brings me back to Brian, just as an example. I've never given a fuck if Brian lives with his fucking parents. For the record, who gives a fuck if you live with your fucking parents? Who cares? Who cares? That's not even the fucking issue. But being a fucking liar and a weirdo. All right? That's the issue. Not who you live with. That's not the fucking issue. Unless you're miserable living with them, then that is a fucking issue. But the fixation being, wow, you have a roommate and you're living with those people at that age, like, I'm not married, bitch, and I'm not going to live alone. I've seen some people that I used to party with who live by themselves. Just they have their own like apartment, they live alone, and they're fucking cuckoo crazy. Like they've lost social skills, like they're not okay. I mean, they got good jobs, they got, pretty pictures on the internet, but they're fucking weird. Living alone, I mean, it's not healthy. And lots of people do it, but it still ain't fucking healthy. Oh, good, they're running. Yoki doesn't usually play with cello, so they're just running around. I know lots of people live alone. I know this. But it's not good for your mental health. It's not. You just are alone. I've lived that and I hated it. It made me feel crazy. And I realized that very early on at the age of what? This is 2014 when I lived alone in Miami. It was my first big, like, okay, I got my own fucking place, And I about lost my goddamn cotton picking mind, Yeah. And then some people would say, well, you got to make friends and go. I'm like, yeah, but I like to live with people. I'm like a super like, I'm antisocial, but I'm not antisocial. I'm like a super, I'm antisocial in the sense of I don't relate to the ideas that a lot of people have. So I'm anti them people. I should just say anti those people instead of, I'm not antisocial. I'm very social. Clearly, this is a form of socializing. I know how to talk to people, but people who got weird ideas, oh, they're chasing kitty. Look at these guys. Well, that's good. At least they're playing. If we see, that's the beautiful thing about us just not going down to the river is that Yoki gets to play with Chella because usually Chella, while she cries as we leave every day, and she's all by herself, and she just needs a friend, you know. So it's good in a sense when I don't have my car, even though I hate it, but the dogs can play together. And Kitty's social. Kitty cried when I walked Yoki and Chella down the road yesterday. He followed us half the way, meowing at the top of his little lungs. Meow. And I'm like, Kitty, you cannot come on the walk with us. Like two dogs and a cat. What's next? The rabbit and the damn squirrel. And the hawk too. And it's just going, I've told the animals they gotta chill out because I'm gonna be looking like Noah's Ark out here without the boat, bitch. Like marching two by two, all me and all the damn animals the way they be. There's this fox that follows me around on the riverwalk. He knows when we're coming and he'll just peek out and Yoki will chase him. And it's like he follows us around. I'm like, y'all gotta, what's next? The coyotes and the wolves too? Like, if we're gonna do this, guys, then y'all need to, the feds are gonna get called on me asking why is she leading a brigade of animals down the street. And I'm okay with it, but the humans ain't. I'm gonna need a boat, bitch. Like I'm gonna need a bus. The way I got all these damn animals wanting to go around me. I'm dead ass serious. I just need a school bus because like a little one of the miniature school buses, because I can't get a big one and just, what do you have that bus for? Well, you know, I walk a lot of animals, I just take all 40 animals and we go on a walk together, you know. Scares everybody in sight, but the animals just keep following me. I got to take them. It's nuts, man. Just give me like 70 acres of land and just drop me off there. Put me on a wildlife preserve. That's where I belong, honestly. That's a dream. Live on a wildlife preserve, preferably by the ocean, meaning High Island. That's where I was live as a wildlife preserve. And we were so wildlifey that the wildlife officer, whose name, ironically enough, is Brian with an I, he identified us as basically wildlife in his mind that he had to protect, just like the wildlife. So he would look at us as if we were wildlife because we were just out there with the wildlife that he protected. And for years after, he would message me on my phone because he had my number, because he took me out on a date one time and it was kind of weird because it felt like an elephant dating a human. And I'm like, this is like interspecies problematic. I'm a different species than you, and I'm a fucking ape sitting with a human being going on a date, and it's not working for me. I need another ape like me. But thanks for the meal. He would email me, message me, like he would take pictures of where we used to quote live on the beach, and some people would call it camping. I just say living, and he'd say your spot's still here. Whenever you're ready to come back, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Why is a federal wildlife officer messaging me saying, please come back to your spot that I don't own? It's weird how it happened. You know, those are the days. I don't know how I'm just going everywhere, mainly because I'm waiting on this goddamn phone call from the goddamn mechanic. So I'm just crazy talking because I've been having panic attacks of the sort that I haven't had in years in the last 48 hours. So I'm just kind of talking out the residual panic in my blood. Brian's are always weird for me. I don't know why. So are Bruce's and what's the other dude's name? The Bruce, the Brian, and the what's that other dude? Bryce. That's a kid I went to school with growing up. I mean, who names their kid Bryce? He was set up, man. He was set up. Bryce Bruins and Brian's and Bruce's are just not. It's just something about those names, you know. I don't know why. And Jessica's, I don't have good Jessica encounters, or Heather's usually. Heather's, Jessica's, Rebecca's also usually not good encounters. Um, Amanda's not either, you know. Pretty much every name. Brittany's are horrible also. And that's no offense to anybody named any of these names. That sounds stereotypical because you probably have met a bitch named Joy that you hate also. It might just be me. And I've ruined the name Joy for everybody, which was my goal. Because I continue to say the letter J is a new letter. So my name should be Yoy. You know, there's no J. So if we're going to do biblical shit, let's just get real biblical. And there is no J. So my name is Hoy or Yoy. Still means happy, bitch. Y'all be getting stressed. Well, we need the J for it to mean happy. No, you don't. You can use the letter H and it mean happy too. You just make it up, bitch. Look at them. They're playing. They never play together. This is great. Maybe I can do this, guys. Oh my goodness. Look at them. Look at them. They never play. This is so great. I was so worried. I'm like, oh my God, if I don't take Yoki for a WLK. And she's just playing with her friend out here. Are you happy that she's here today? Because every single day that we've known Chella for 2 fucking years, we leave every day. Maybe it's not so bad. Maybe Yoki will, and we'll still do WLKs. It's just, we don't have to do them. I'm just used to leaving this house. That's what it is. I'm just used to it. I'm reminding myself of Suzanne O'Brien. I got Christmas letters to write, and it's really, you know, it's weird when I go through really stressful situations. It's the inverse of how it used to be, where I get on a super fuck everybody, I hate everybody. It ends up becoming the reverse, where I feel like I love everybody when I'm going through something really stressful. It's very bizarre and strange and cringy, because I'm like, this shouldn't be happening. I should really hate everybody in humanity, for everything, honestly, in these times when I'm super stressed, because that's how most people behave, is when they're super stressed, it's fuck everybody, right? Um, and I just don't feel that way. I feel, you know, I don't necessarily feel a warm feeling of fuzziness, of happiness. It's not happiness. It's just more like, okay. You were running and playing. Good job, Luli. Good job, Luli. You're doing so good. And so are you. Chella Bella. That's your name. I don't know what else to call you, but that's what we call you every damn day. It's Chella Bella. Compassion. I don't know if I'm compassionate. Compassion makes me squirm, because sometimes I feel like I'm giving people what they don't deserve. You know, I don't ever want to do that, right? You know, I think something's happening to me. I think, you know that, that part in the Grinch movie where his heart melts or something and he starts to smile and he realizes he has love in his heart because of that little damn dog. I don't like that this is happening to me, honestly, because I shouldn't give a fuck. You know, I'm supposed to be not giving a fuck, and really it should be fuck. I mean, it should be fuck everybody, because I mean, fuck everybody. It is. It's still fuck everybody. It is, but it's not my job to fuck everybody. You know, that's up to this gets into how I really feel. Like when you get past all of the exterior, these hard, I'm a badass because I flicked you off and I got tattoos that look really gay, and I just want to look like not regular. So that's why, it's crazy town, a constellation of fuckery on my face. Get past all that bullshit. Um, I don't have any animosity toward human beings in my heart, at the very, very bottom. And ultimately, I know that whatever happens to you, and I'm talking about with the knowledge of really shitty people. Really, 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 really shitty people. Really, really, really. The people that abuse animals, abuse children, those people. And just the people that just are doing the things that are against nature. That's it's not up to me to deal with you, you know. Nature, it's something I was trying to talk about a few days ago on a stream. I think that this is this stream I was trying to do the night that I just ended my channel for a little while, because I was trying to get on here and tap into the whole point of nature's perspective, which we don't want to talk about that, do we? Nature does not look at humans and really have any feelings, really. It's really hard to explain and it's really hard to understand, simply because as a human, humans are the problem, right? Humans are the problem. Like, if you just zoom out of your human body, I'm not trying to be all fucking Bill Nye the Science guy, because fuck science. Just kind of just open your little eyes, take the perspective of the sun or the moon looking down on everything. You're detached, but you're not detached because you're a part of this thing. But you're keeping it warm, right? That's what the sun does. It just keeps us warm enough so we don't die. You know, that's it. But the sun's not really that involved. Not like that, but it is. The sun is involved, but it's still not seemingly that involved. I personally, this is how I view the sun. I believe, if you want to get into my beliefs, my spiritual beliefs, I believe the sun and the moon are eyes. I do. I believe that they're eyes that are watching us. The sun is an eye, and it's two eyes. They're always operating at the same time. They're just, it's such a big person. So you're like, well, obviously, the moon can't see me right now, because I'm like, the moon can always see you. Her eye, there's two large eyes that do this over us all every day. You know, that's what I believe. I don't share that often because people are like, the sun is not an eyeball. Okay. Okay. I don't really care. I like believing. No, it's not a metaphor for me. It's literal. I do believe the sun is an eye that we cannot comprehend because it's the eye, you know, and just understanding, the science of everything really just fucks everything up, because it's the study of fragmentation, or it's the study of life through fragmentation. But you have to understand that everything in nature is of its own. Everything in nature is of its own self, if that makes any sense. Um, it's all a part of itself. Like, there's nothing in nature that's separate from something else. It's literally all overlapping phenomena, you know? And we don't understand the human body as humans, and we're not supposed to actually think about it. Um, there's no other creature on this earth, none, and I do mean in the sense of animals, including cephalopods. What dishes? Oh, well, that's fine. We didn't need them anyways. Kitty broke 2 bowls. Who gives a fuck? Seriously. It's called going to Goodwill. That's the least of my worries. Dishes getting broke. Who cares? But that would be something that other people might freak out about, you know? Who fucking cares? Um, Plates and bowls, like, we have too many as it is. You really only need one plate and one bowl per person, you know? Why do you need 300 of the same thing? For what? What are we going to have company? That's like my mom. She has thousands of plates, it seems. And I'm like, nobody's coming over, sis, you know? But you never know, in case that one day out of 1 million days that we'll have these people over. It's fine. I'm telling just the Ethernet of it's called Goodwill. If it's that serious,
Oh, yeah.
$1. Look at Okama. She found that it's thrifted. It was found hanging on a tree. A perfectly good Hogwarts scarf. Literally, Gryffindor. Found hanging on a tree, very symbolic. And they're just running around. I've never seen them play like this. These two, they just been running around, chasing each other. You want here? Let's get your blankie on you, Luli. Let's get it on you. Hold on. Here, come here. Come here. Come here. There we go. And I know she's looking for that thing, and we will. I just don't feel like we need to move right now. She does look scholarly. She looks super smart. Funnily enough, see, let me just talk about this for a moment. And this is the best. This is the only thing I can do in these most trying times of my life. Um, is to have these conversations that I've been wanting to have for a while now on this channel, but the trolley lulls and the oh, I gotta answer the call. It's the mechanic. car's done. Um, and I knew this, but we would have probably died, honestly. Um, so the car's over with. Funnily enough, it's not the transmission that took it out. It's that the it goes into how they're putting the wheel bearing joint on. They're saying they ran into a very serious issue where how this car is set up, how everything hooks together, and like this car's like they literally cannot fix it because they can't even get the fucking parts. There are no parts. They've called all the junkyards in this area. They called the dealership, and the dealership laughed at them because what they need to they're basically these bolts that hold on hook. It's a bolt issue. The wheel bearing is not the issue. It's how the bolt hook on and then how it hooks into the brakes. He was saying that holes were being made into the brakes because of these bolts, and that's what I was feeling. I kept telling you when I was feeling like things. The framework of the car is coming undone, which affects the braking. And he's saying that I'm just driving. He would not suggest me drive. I know he's not fucking with me because they're very thorough, and they didn't do any work on it because they didn't want to waste my money. But they're saying it's completely fucking undrivable, completely, completely. And they cannot get any parts. Like there's no parts, zero. And I know like they have access because they're the oldest mechanic shop in town in terms of people. I'm just talking out loud in case they're fucking you over. But the whole thing is these bolts, the holes. If you know how there's holes and holes, the holes have gotten so big, and the way the bolts, they have to rig it a certain way. They can't get the fucking parts. So he says you do not need to be driving. Which I was feeling it. All that noise that we were hearing is what it was. It's the whole framework of the car shifting, and then there's holes being bored into the brakes, and they literally can't fix it. Which I already knew. I already knew that. So basically, it's a matter of towing it to a junkyard and getting money out of it. That's all I can do. So I'm not going to stress about it, right? He said, and just don't leave it with us for weeks because they don't have that much space. But I told him it won't take me that long to make a decision to get it because that's all I'm going to be paying for. And then kind of looking at it, but they didn't fix anything. What I could do, because in terms of selling it to it, what I need you to do, it's just the irony. I'm like, I actually thought about it. I'm like, this car made it 9 months. I mean, so I'm without a car, guys, for sure. Not the transmission, the damn bolts. My dad's gonna yell at me though, because when I tell him, he's gonna be like, I told you not. I'm like, Dad, he's Mr. Just don't. I'm like, dude, I was not driving. I knew I wasn't driving in a safe vehicle. I felt that. That's why I took it in, talking to myself. So better to not have a car than to be dead. Even though death is not, I'm okay with dying, but I mean, I don't want to die in a fucking car wreck because the brakes have holes in them and I'm losing all. He said I would have lost all my brakes. Yeah. And, this goes into, it's funny because I also remember I told you like the parts situation, like it's hard to find parts. It's harder to find parts now. And ironically enough, I just happened to look on Facebook Marketplace. There's another Dodge Durango for sale. It's the 2000 instead of a 99 for $1,000. And I'm like, nope, I'm not doing a Dodge Durango. I've only had this car for 9 fucking months. Spent $2,300 on it. Thankfully, we didn't put that much money into it. I mean, we've only gotten an alternator and new brakes and, shoes. And so it's about $3,000 we put into this car. It lasted for 9 months. That's not bad, right? It's for real. Text Emily and say, because she cannot talk. She said first thing she's doing is filling out the application, and that she's going to be doing the military COVID shit all day. The next thing I need to do is call my dad. Let me get off of here and call my dad.